Flush. What if flush? First, we're gonna be using a number 2. You know, you hear a lot of people use this term flush, and we're gonna be using my trusty magic clips, the golden black version. If you don't know, now you know. So this is flush. So we do this to take out bulk in areas where we want it to be equal and real clean. You see I'm going over the same spot and keeping it flush. So I know all the hairs below there have been cut by a 2. And this is a 5 I'm using. I'm just equaling out everything. You want everything to be nice and equal. You have to know how your clipper is being positioned and when the curves on the head happen and all of that, you have accounted for that. This is all just to make things equal. It's very important for you to begin fades. Flicking. Now this is where we get a little more advanced, and every single barber you ever see in your entire life uses this, I would guarantee. Flushing is everything's equal, you know, good for wave cuts and all these different things. You still gotta master that, but flicking is what you need to master for perfecting your fade. You see this bump on the side right here. I could take out a clipper over comb. I could, you know, use different guards, or I can use my number 2 and flick out and create the shape that I want to make. What flicking allows you to do is reduces the amount of times you have to change your adjustment lever. It reduces the amount of times you have to change guards, and it just reduces the amount of time you're fading. So the moment you master this, you improve your fades. Here, I'm starting off my guideline, doing a little bit of flicking. Unless asymmetry is your goal in a fade, it's paramount that you have a symmetrical fade and know exactly how to go about getting one. So here on every single head, there are doubles, and it's your job to know where those doubles are and to take advantage of them. He has an ear on this side and an ear on the other side. So my curve is in relation to that ear. What part of the ear does it start? How high from the ear is it? You know, and even this line right here, where is it? Right by the lobe? Is it right above the lobe? What part of the lobe did I mark that? Now I'm memorizing those markings, and I'm doing them here as well. And I'm doing 2 points as you see here because our brains naturally make connections when we do these points. You gotta know where you're starting, know where you're going, and the middle is a little more easy to break down, and that's basically a life lesson. Everything's made easier. I create the line, I focus just on the line, and then I clean up what happens under that. And for me, that's the easiest way to go about it, because too many times I can focus on both the cleanup and the line, and then, you know, it's not as efficient, or you can get a little flustered if you haven't done this before. And you can see even right now, you know exactly what I'm gonna do because you see one side. It's kind of like a, you know, when you were kids and you had to draw in a grid, and there was a grid of like a lion or something, and then you had to copy that same grid to the other side. It's the same exact thing with a haircut, but you have to create those grids yourself. Those are called, what we call in the hair industry, reference points. Now, this aspect of haircutting is not really anything academic. This is just something I make sure that I do so my haircuts and fades are very consistent. I make one mark and I move to halfway of the blade on new hair and half of it on old hair, making sure I'm cutting new hair, but I'm also going over the old cut so that it makes my cuts real even. Throughout the entire fade, I'm always looking at the bottom of the cut and the top of the cut, the shape of his head. Every time I'm cutting within the shape of the head. So there's the shape, and at the bottom you see that I left a little bit for the hairline. Now you can imagine that it's very difficult to stay consistent while hair needs to be changing in its density, or like a fade. You need to create a fade, but you need to be consistent at the same time. Something that's ever changing there needs to be some form of consistency. So in a weird way, you have to be consistently ever changing. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you need to have practices and know techniques that really make sure that your fade is on point. Because too many things go into making a fade for you to just be willy-nilly about it. Now I'm going into a little more complex techniques. This is called raking. Raking is used to blend in between guards. I'm using this to blend into my half, or it's acting as a half, blending into a one. It's a little more tricky. You don't have as much control using the whole blade. More hair may come off than you want to. So instead of taking that chance and focusing a lot on skill, and you may actually poke people when you don't have a guard here because the blades are the same width as pores sometimes, you just use the corner of the blade. If you notice, the corner of the blade is typically the thickest part of the entire blade, whether it be a guard or not, and that allows for more control. You're more texturizing hair and using like a texturizing shear with the clipper in your hand. We're making sure that we take a little bit at a time, and here you can see the corner of the blade, and I'm not as careful because I don't have to. Imagine if the whole blade was on the hair right now. I wouldn't be able to work as accurately and as intentional as I am here, and this is just taking out dark spots. Probably have to make a video doing dark spots. I know everybody talks about dark spots and finishing touches and stuff, but it's very important. Now here is clipper over comb. You know, you can use this on all textures. I typically use it mostly on straight hair clients. My process doesn't really call for a clipper over comb depending on haircuts. But here I'm just refining the shape. And if you really notice, if you really know what you're doing, you have that as a clipper blade. You know, you can see that the big blade I have, because it covers the entire blade. I don't have to worry much about missing the comb and then my clipper actually going on top of the head and nicking somebody and it looks terrible. These are two different combs. The biggest difference is one is pink, one is black, but more importantly, one is light and one is dark. So I'm using a lighter comb, and I'm able to see hairs pop out that I want to cut. I look at a dark area and I'm just like, oh, there's some hairs here that are longer than others. So I'm gonna put my comb in there, see where it sticks out, and then cut that part. That's all you're doing with clipper over comb. You're reading the hair. You put the comb in. Hey, what's sticking out here? Oh, something like here in this area right here. I see hair sticking out, and I'm just putting the clipper over it. Then I comb it down to see what it did. You know, you're really just reading the hair. There's nothing super crazy about it. Now, shear over comb. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to ethnic hair, I almost never use this technique for this texture. Typically, it's for straight hair clients that I use it for, but it can come in handy. It's the only reason I don't is because I can't move through the hair as easily as a straight hair client, because the hair is coily, extra curly, or whatever. You get more tension as you move through the hair. Now, I love this. After you've done the entire fade, you know, you've pretty much done your process. This is like when people mow the lawn and then they do the hedges and they do like the ends of the hair. It's like a shape up for your hair. Like there's actually a shape up for your hairline and a shape up for your hair. It really makes a difference. I can tell you when I started cutting hair, this is a aspect of it that I neglected, or one that I wasn't really sure of. Once you master this, you'll go from, you know, that barber in the garage, or that barber in the dorm room, or just cutting your friends, to somebody that like, oh snap, this guy's he really knows what he's doing. And you do this on all haircuts. Do this on waves, even though you think that the guard really goes and cuts it. It doesn't. There's still some hairs that are pushed, that aren't fully cut, that are partially cut, that this technique takes care of.